Power can be might, influence via wealth, knowledge. There exists all kinds of powers, but one of them stands out from the others, that is the power of cuteness. He is just a young boy, but with his cuteness, he would carve out a new world. It all started when Suzuki found himself in front of a self-proclaimed god who tells him that he died at the age of 17 and now he needs to select the new world he will live in. Suzuki has no idea what is going on, but the god tells him that the person, Sasaki, who died at the same time as him would also be deciding where he wants to ice sky. Sasaki looks like a gangster, but Suzuki does not care right now because it finally gets to him that he has died. The god explains that he is deader than the dead are because a drunk truck driver ran over him. She even says that she would consider the misfortunes of his in the previous life and guide him to a new world he desires. She then asks if Sasaki has someplace in mind to start his new life. Sasaki wants to go to a messed up world where he can beat others. Suzuki is surprised that Sasaki was the unfortunate one and not the one causing it. The god does not even beat an eye as she starts looking through a book to find an extremely crazy, SS rank difficulty world. She is even going to give him the ability super strongest, much to Suzuki's shock. Sasaki is all accepting of the new powers even though he claims that he was the strongest in his previous life. The god tells him to use this ability correctly, and since he would definitely be able to defeat his enemies, he should use it to save the scariest of worlds. Sasaki is excited to make that world his own turf, and the god asks if that world would work for Suzuki as well. Suzuki immediately refuses because he wants a laid-back life with friends. He was an orphan and has been through a lot. He was a loner even at school, so he wants to spend his days in peace with kind people. The god looks through the book while keeping his requirements in mind and offers a world of farming with difficulty level F and also giving him the ability unconditionally loved by local species so that it could be easier for him to get along with others. Suzuki imagines such a world and is excited to go there. Both Suzuki and Sasaki are excited to go to their respective worlds, so God wishes them luck as she snaps her fingers. The two of them disappear, but the god is confused as she does not know which one was Suzuki. Suzuki slowly opens his eyes, hearing the chattering voices from around him but not fully understanding what they are talking about. He wakes up on a magic circle, with all sorts of people around him. He has a recollection that he has been ice-skate. The king of the Riarun country calls him the mighty hero, and Suzuki gets excited to be called by such a title in this new world. A mage presents the mighty hero's stats to the king, and the king happily reads through it, but soon, his face changes to that of a rage as he yells at Suzuki for having every single of his abilities such as attack, magic, and defense in only a single digit. The king calls him a piece of trash, but Suzuki politely tells him that he only wanted a laid-back lifestyle. The king yells at him even more, saying that the Demon Lord's army is going to attack them, this time it's life or death situation. Suzuki is surprised to hear that, and the king continues to explain, but then, his and his companions' heads fall to the ground. The castle is attacked by the demons, and the humans scurry here and there in fear as the demons pursue them. The ones to arrive are Officer Kiru, Officer Meru, and Captain Nifia. They start eliminating everyone while laughing and chatting. Suzuki is watching all this take place with terror because there is nothing friendly about this world. He wants to know how this happened and then remembers that Sasaki wanted to come to a world like this. Looks like the god mistook Sasaki for Suzuki. Even though a god should not make a mistake like that, but she did look like she had no interest in them. Suzuki trembles as he does not know what to do, so he decides to escape from here first. He is about to do so, but then a plea of help stops him. He turns around to find two maids crouching and shivering from fear. The demons are still eliminating everyone with no exception, so Suzuki curses under his breath. He has got no choice here. The king did call him a trash, but if that god mistook him for Sasaki, he should have the abilities super strongest. He gathers all his power and rushes to punch the Captain Nifia, but it has no impact at all. Kiru and Meru finds it offensive to trying to do something to their captain and want to turn him into a sun-dried necklace. Captain Nifia is also furious as she finds him worthy of death penalty. She puts her spear against his neck, and Suzuki realizes that he really is a trash. He says goodbye to his isekai lifestyle as it was even worse than his previous life. Suzuki was once more prepared for death, but Captain Nifia looks quite conflicted as she is taken away by the teary-faced boy in front of her. She got very distracted by his cuteness as he was approaching, but looking again closely, she realizes that it is seriously amazing. She tries to get herself in control by thinking that this is a human, a worm. But then the same thing happens again and she is taken by his cuteness. She gets out of it quickly and knows that she must eliminate him as he has shown her insolence, but his cute and whimpering face stops her. She also contemplates that she already announced the death penalty and backtracking now would set a bad example for her subordinates. When Nefia was thinking all this, at the same time, the twin demons Meru and Kiru, Nefia's right and left hand, were thinking that they really do not want the boy to die. If anything, the crying boy is bothering Kiru, as she thinks that she is the reason for his tears, as she called him the piece of trash. On the other hand, Meru is worried that she told him to be tuned to a sun-dried necklace. This is so cringe that she wants him to forget that. Both twins decide from telepathy that they need to stop Nefia from eliminating him. Suzuki, who is waiting for the penalty, is surprised at the weird pause and thinks that she is going to torture him slowly and then eliminate him. In a desperation, he tells Nefia to hurry up and do the deed. Nefia wakes up from her stupor and continues to say that he is insolent hum and must be eliminated, is something she never said. Suzuki is surprised by the turn of events and reminds her that she did said he deserved death. Nefia admits that but says that she never said she would eliminate him. Suzuki does not understand what is going on, but Nefia says that he would be punished and not eliminated. She thinks about the punishment, and after much thinking, she announces that his punishment would be imprisonment and order Meru and Kiru to throw him in the castle's dungeon. The twins are more than happy to follow this command, but Suzuki is surprised that the both of them are smiling. Nefia tells them that this is not all and orders her subordinates to allow him 3 meals per day and an afternoon snack. There is a lot more she wants to say, but that would do for now. The twins take the order, but Nefia is still not done and asks Suzuki for his name, since it is a little difficult to call him human all the time. Suzuki says his name and Nefia comments that it has a nice ring to it. Suzuki does not understand what is going on as he gets this privilege. Nefia also tells her name, but Suzuki does not listen and instead says that they are going to eat him. They are fattening him up for a dish that they would name after him, he concludes. Nefia knows that he probably did not hear her name, and the twin demons start laughing. Kiru says that there is no way they had eat him. Suzuki has a prejudiced opinions on demons. Suzuki feels relieved that the demons do not eat humans, but the twins take his relief away as they say that they actually do eat humans. Suzuki shouts and says that he does remember Meru saying to turn him into a sun-dried necklace. Meru sweats in an attempt to negate it, but Suzuki definitely remembers it, so she changes the topic by inviting him to join them to their castle. The twins grab his arms and fly away, as he yells that he is going to fall. Nefia smiles as she looks at them, but then shouts out loud that the twins got to touch Suzuki so much and she is super jealous. She hates being an official, but then wonders if she told him her name. At the demon castle, where skulls and Buffy demons are common occurrences, Suzuki does not even know what to say about the situation that he is in. In the dungeon, he got warm water to soak his feet, fruits to eat, and a soft sofa to sit on. Even his hands are not tied up like others. He is the odd one out and feels awkward while the other prisoners look at him with anger. He does not know that those twin demons were thinking, giving him all these things. Well, thinking would not get him anywhere. The lot that created such a scene in an instant, what they are thinking, it does not matter, because Suzuki believes that he is going to die anyway. His final memory before reincarnation is a bit fuzzy, but he remembers seeing all red as the air was breathed out of him. If this is what instant death is like, then it is not that bad, he thinks. He just wanted to make some friends and live together peacefully, but that does not seem possible. The god is looking at him in a crystal ball and regrets to make such a mistake as a god. She knows that she gave him the correct abilities but mixed up the worlds back then. The contemplates a bit, but then says that a person cannot be brought back once Isekai has taken place, and contact from the heavens is also forbidden, but the ability of unconditionally love by the local species can change the world if it is used correctly, understanding how the world works and becoming an actual hero or something else. She knows that it would be better to help him, but she can only wish him all the best. Nefia's humming can be heard from a mile away. Her report to the Demon Lord on the subjugation of the Lyran Kingdom is complete, so now she can finally see Suzuki. She is super excited to see him because she pulled an all-nighter for him. She burst into the cell but finds no one there. She asks the newcomer guard where Meru and Kiru are. The skeleton guard tells her that her subordinates are dealing with the survivors from yesterday. She asks about the humans that were kept in the cell. The guard proudly tells her that he sent all of them to the torture chamber in advance. He is proud that he dealt with them according to the rules, as he read the rookie manual in advance. Nefia fumes and punches the skeleton so hard that his skull detaches from his body. She tells him to forget the rules and read the room. The poor skeleton thinks that life is tough as Nefia throws his body to the wall. The thing is, Nefia is worried that Suzuki was sent to the torture chamber of all places. The in charge of that place is Uruguru. They shove personally trained bugs into every hole a human has and enjoy every moment of their anguish and torture. Even women and the children are no exception, and even when the humans have broken and gone insane, the torture continues without a word. Even Nifia has never seen their face, as they are not the typical type, but they are an outstanding torturer, and that is why Suzuki is in deep trouble. Nifia again lashes out at the headless skeleton and asks if he did not feel anything looking at Suzuki at all. The skeleton replies that the manual said no exceptions, but he did feel that one of the human did have lenient restraints. Nifia punches him again and turns away to leave. She rushes dramatically to save her precious Suzuki. She runs away so fast that even the skeleton guard is surprised, and he wonders who Suzuki is, to be able to make the calm and collected Nifia to act like this. In the torture chamber, Suzuki and his companion prisoner tremble as they watch the horrible scene of a person getting tortured. Suzuki was resigned to death, but dying like this is too much. The person beside him vomits as he cries that the demons do not care if they get the information or not, they just want to torture them. The man does not want to die, as Suzuki tells him that he would go next. The demons wants to torture them for as long as they can, so they can have him until they are fed up. Long ago, he was told that he is worthy of being bullied because running away or standing up to them was something he could not do, but if he holds out for as long as he can, then the chances for the other man to escape increase. The other man warns him about something behind him. Uruguru has come for them already, sending terror to the two men. The other man begs the torturer to spare him, but he gets hit on the head and is thrown to the side. The torturer grabs Suzuki's face and asks how long has been here, looking at them like that. The torturer is at a loss because they did not notice Suzuki before. Suzuki does not know what is going on, but Uruguru continues and tells him that they enjoy torturing other human, but thinking of doing the same to Suzuki bothers them. Suzuki asks if they just want to eliminate him quickly, but Uruguru negates such an idea. Suzuki wants an explanation, but Uruguru gets nervous and bangs their head into the wall. They stay like that for a while and then moves back, leaving a dent in the sturdy wall. Suzuki is terrified and starts crying, making Uruguru even more nervous, who does not know what to do. It has been about 10 years since Uruguru have been talked with, so they panicked so hard and banged their head into the wall. This is why even her own kind thinks that they are creepy, but that does not matter since Uruguru has the company of insects that do not talk much but are docile. So every day, Uruguru plays with bugs and humans and enjoys their reactions and sufferings. Suzuki is also a human. His crying face is just so cute. Uruguru does not know the reason, but their reactions are scaring Suzuki even more, so they drape their cloak over him and even give him their mask to wipe his tears. Suzuki is surprised by these actions and is even more surprised to see that Uruguru is actually a woman. She is an ogre, so even if she is a woman, her body is buffy. She says that even demons does not like her like this, and she knows that this rugged and male-like body is gross to most. That is the reason she hides it, so that no one can see it. Suzuki tells her that he does not think she is gross at all and is actually surprised because she is cute. Uruguru is surprised that such a thing is directed at her and asks if he is making fun of her. Suzuki tells her that he is telling the truth because she was wearing a mask before, but her real face is much more nicer and cuter. She does not believe it at first, but then becomes happy and even blushes. However, her laughter is something that Suzuki has to think if she really is happy right now. It feels so nice to be praised that Uruguru wants to talk more. She first wants to ask his name, and when he tells her, she is super happy. She then introduces her pet doggy and takes it closer to Suzuki to take a closer look, but he turns his face away from the worm. Uruguru is dejected to find that he does not like bugs, so Suzuki asks her name to make her mood better. She excitedly tells her name and tells him to never forget it. She stares at him for a minute and says that Suzuki is a miracle because she is usually bad at talking, even more so to a human, but Suzuki is different because just looking at him makes her happy. Suzuki is about to say something when that door bursts opens and Nifia arrives. Uruguru is surprised to find her here and asks the reason for her arrival, but Nifia is more worried about Suzuki. She is super happy that he is alright and then looks at Uruguru to ask who she is. Uruguru tells her that she is the torturer, and even Nifia is shocked to find that the torturer that everyone fears looks like this. However, Uruguru tells her to forget the fact and requests her to not eliminate Suzuki the human. She is practically begging, so Nifia assures her that she is going to take him to the slave room. Suzuki gets scared at the mention of the slave room, and when Uruguru notices it, she ensures him that he would not be tortured or served as a food there, so a slave room is the safest place for the humans. But it also means that he would never come here again, and that is a bit sad for Uruguru. Suzuki notices the change in her demeanor but asks if she can stop torturing the two individuals in the chamber because they have not confessed anything even if she tortured them, so he does not want them hurt any more than this. Uruguru is about to say that one of them is still alive, but Suzuki cuts her to say that if she promises, he would come to see her again. Uruguru is happy to hear that, but she is also anxious of Suzuki getting found out, but the Captain Nifia turns a blind to the matter and simply tells them to hurry up. Uruguru is touched and hugs Suzuki as she promises to stop torturing them. Suzuki can feel the warmth of her body, but he can also feel a chill from behind him that is presumably coming from Nifia. She warns them that if they keep it up, she would decide to have heard of their plans to meet. So like this, Suzuki was able to leave the torture chamber in one piece. And then, he is taken to the slave room and it is as he expected. Nothing has changed, it is still the cruel world everywhere, that is what he thought. But it was here that he met someone that would change him and the world. Suzuki is taken to the slave room by Nifia and everyone present there try their best to avoid looking at her directly. Nifia wants to put him in a much better place, preferably her own room, but she has to hold on until the selection day on which the demons would select the slaves to be served by auction. The selection day is in a week, so she hands him a ring that would burn everything in the room to a crisp except Suzuki. He finds it disturbing and does not want such a thing, as he says that 1 week is not a big deal at all. Nifia has put so much effort and magic into making the ring specially for Suzuki, so she is a bit pissed for not being able to give him and leaves while fuming that she would only give it to him if he apologized. He is now trapped in the slave room, thinking of her actions when the other slaves talk to him about chatting with the demon. They ask him where he is from and then guess that he is the rumored so-called hero. They two men start beating him for being a useless hero and the cause of their destruction. They are about to take Suzuki's life when the enslaved princess tells them to stop. She is the third princess of the Ryurun, but the slave men refer to her as the former princess and say that she is as guilty for the destruction of their kingdom. One of the men start grabbing on the princess while the other hits her companion, Ornio. The man grabs her to do as he pleases, as he says that the commoners were burdened with heavy taxes to defend against demons but still ended up like this. He says to spare a thought for them and let this happen. The princess is beyond terrified on what is happening, but then Suzuki grabs the man's hand even though he is injured himself. He cannot stand to die at the hands of someone like him. Suzuki tells him to know better than to blame all the hardships on others, but the speech has no effect on the slave and he grabs Suzuki to eliminate him. However, the princess uses her chains to knock out the man. As royalty, she has learned self-defense just in case, but she had no idea that she would actually use it someday. She thanks Suzuki for saving her and introduces herself as Exela, the third princess of Ryurun. Suzuki reminds her of her companion and she becomes scared, but Ornio also successfully knocked out the guy attacking him. He may be an old bag of bones, but he is still the princess attendant and is determined to die only after fulfilling his duties. The unruly slaves have been tied up, so Suzuki tells Exela and Ornio how he reincarnated from another world. Exela mistakes him for a sacred being, and when he tries to negate such an idea, she says that Suzuki was given another life by God, so without a doubt, he is a sacred being. But to have been misplaced by a different person is really dejecting. Suzuki tells them that he was originally headed for a friendly, laid-back world but ended up here. He tells them that the other person wanted a messed-up world so that he could fight to his heart's content, and the god gave him the power to be the strongest, so if there was no mistake, this world could have been saved. Ornio asks what kind of ability he was gifted, and Suzuki tells them about his ability to be loved unconditionally by the local species. At first, he thought that he did not even get that ability because the humans he first encountered clearly did not even take a liking towards him, but the demons are different and behave differently towards him. He kept wondering why, and today he confirmed it. He is unconditionally loved by the local species, but that is only limited to the demons. He does not know why it is only demons, but he can guess that the demons would not eliminate the useless little him. In fact, just talking with them brings delight and joy. Exela and Ornio are shocked to hear of such a thing but expected no less from God. However, Suzuki says that he cannot even protect anyone but himself with this ability. So far, he has avoided being slaughtered and tortured thanks to this ability, but he could not do anything for others. He thinks everyone is right when they say he is useless. Exela can detect that he is dejected and asks if he remembers the two maids in the castle. He tried to protect them and stood up to the demon army. Suzuki tells her that he did not even make a dent to the army, but Exela tells him that thanks to the opening he made, those two were captured but not eliminated. Suzuki is excited to hear of such a thing, so Exela further tells him that when she was sent here, they told her so and are now in a different slave house. These are the lives he saved. The legend of heroes passed down to people tell only of their deeds, but there is no way everyone was saved without any victims. Besides, if anything, just before, she was so scared that she could not even move, but what brought her back was Suzuki's bravery, so she is glad that he is here. Suzuki is so touched by her words that he shed tears as he thanks her for feeling that way. He then wipes his face and requests Exella and Orneo to teach him about this world and think together about what he can do. Both Exella and Orneo are delighted to hear that and are more than happy to assist the hero in changing the world. A few hours later, both Kiru and Miru are crying because Nifia was very angry with them, all because the newbie bonehead sent Suzuki to the torture chamber. This is the first time the twins saw Nifia this angry, and just thinking about it gives them chills. But they are glad that Suzuki is doing well. They know that he would be in the slave house, so they plan to go see him. However, Suzuki is walking right in front of them with a guard. The twins rush towards him and ask what he is doing in the army officer level. Suzuki tells them that he had something to say to Nifia, so he had the warden bring him to them. The warden besides him deeply apologizes that he could not resist Suzuki, but the twins understand the feeling, so they let him go. They ask Suzuki about his business with Nifia, so he tells them that he wants to her exclusive slave, confusing both of them. Suzuki comes to Nifia to ask to become her exclusive slave. When she does not answer him, he asks if it is not good. However, Nifia's late reaction is due to the celebrations going on inside her head. She grabs her head, making Suzuki wonder what kind of reaction that is. Nifia lies that she just got a little dizzy from the exhausting workload and would be fine in a bit. She internally tells herself to be calm, as she cannot lose her dignity as the captain of the Thunder Dash Spear. The troops gather for discussion on the selection day, and it is decided there about which slave would serve whom. It must all be done according to the rules, and that is the reason that Suzuki was jailed. She looks at the paper with rules and her own signature at the bottom and becomes angry. She grabs the pen and writes a new rule, stating that the captain is excluded from the rules. Now, there should not be a problem, so she explains that normally, it is not okay, but as an exception, the captain can make independent decisions, so she accepts Suzuki's request to be her exclusive slave. Suzuki becomes happy, but he extends his request to say that he wants the humans in the slave house, particularly Exella, to be placed with kind masters who do not use violence. Nifia knows that Exella is a princess and she captured the harmless humans so that no one can think she just overlooked Suzuki. If she recalls now, Exella is royalty but only the third princess, so if this can make Suzuki happy, she can accept this demand. Suzuki is happy to hear her accept, as he has now achieved the first step of their plan. The three of them talked about how to use his ability. The idea was to become the slave of Nifia and cozy up to the demons. Building good relations should help them to get their demands through to them. For now, he has ensured the safety of those two, and if this continues, the humans and the demons may be able to live peacefully side by side. So he thanks Nifia a bit too excitedly, making her blush from cuteness. She tells them that it is getting late, so they should head to their beds. The twins excuse themselves first, and Suzuki is about to follow them when Nifia grabs him by the collar and tells him that since he is now her slave, he needs to sleep in her room. Suzuki is surprised but ends up sleeping in her room. Nifia is super excited to have Suzuki as her exclusive slave, and even more so for having him in her room. She wonders if he is asleep and wants to take a little peek. What she finds is a cute, peaceful slumber of a cute boy. She bleeds her nose out from the cuteness overload and even wants to hug him. However, she thinks that Suzuki's cuteness is not for anyone to soil and must be praised and worshipped just like the devil. That being said, just a little bit should be fine, after all she is a demon. She decides to only sniff him a little, but she notices some other smell. She moves hair from his forehead to find a nasty wound. The wind entering the room from the window makes Suzuki aware that he fell asleep. He thought he would not be able to fall asleep, given the situation, but he could not help himself as he lay down. It has been a few days since he reincarnated and a lot of things happened, but he thinks he was being a worrywart because nothing happened. Only that he opens his eyes to find Nifia the demon on top of him. He shrieks and scrambles towards the wall, telling her to not to eat him. Nifia explains that she was not going to eat him. He was hurt, deep cut on his forehead and bruises all over his abdomen and feet. These are the wounds that would worsen if left unattended, so she used some healing medicine. Suzuki notices that his wounds have really healed, so he apologizes and thanks her. However, Nifia is more interested to know how he got those wounds. Suzuki remembers his trouble with the human in the slave room and how Nifia wanted to game him a ring to burn everyone, so he lies to her that he fell down the stairs on his way here. Nifia stares at him for a bit and then returns to her bed as she tells him to tell her next time if something happens because it affects the dignity of the master on how the slave is managed. Suzuki agrees and hopes that he got away with the lie. Nifia went back to sleep as if nothing happened, but Suzuki, on the other hand, could not sleep because he was full of worries. 3 days later, Suzuki woke up, but he thought it was scary how he was getting used to the life here. There is not sign if Nifia did anything after his lie, and even though it is a scary world, the futon is soft and comfortable. For the most part, Nifia does everything, from cooking to cleaning and preparing baths. Within the castle, he is free to go anywhere and all the demons treat him well. He even sees Uruguru one time, who offers him bugs. Rather than slave, he feels more like a guest. Nifia is still not back in the room in the morning as she said she was working all night. This life feels laid back and friendly, but Suzuki snaps out of it because he made a promise with Exela to do what he can for this world. Suzuki is doing the laundry when Miru and Kiru find him and ask what he is doing. He tells them that he is doing laundry, but they say that things like these are more efficient with the magic. He says that it is the thought that matters, but looks like this concept is foreign to demons. However, Miru says that she knows where he is coming from because she likes to do certain things by hands even if it takes time. Suzuki feels empathy with her and she tells him to come with her since her handmade present is ready. The twins take him to a room where they show him the hoodie that he was wearing, and it is now made in other colors as well. Kiru explains proudly that Miru has a sewing hobby and she is amazing at it. His hoodie was wrecked before, but after fixing it, it looks brand new now. Suzuki finds it amazing, but then remember that he handed his hoodie to Exela and asks them if they took it from her. They admit taking it, and Suzuki is worried that she would be new now, but Kiru says that they handed her other clothes after that. He feels relieved that was the case because if those unruly men saw her again, it would be bad. The twins do not know who he is talking about because there are only Exela and Ornio in that slave room. Suzuki tries to tell them that there were 2 more men in that room, and Miru finally asks if he is talking about the men who hurt Suzuki because there is no way they would live. Suzuki is surprised, but the twins explain that the guys who hurt him are not wanted by anyone as slaves. They say that those guys are only worthy of being food, but their meat tasted gross as well. Suzuki is beyond shocked and terrified that Nifia looked right through him. He realizes once again that this world is cruel and the gulf between demons and humans cannot be bridged. He wonders if his idea of cozying up to them really going to work, that the demons and humans can be equal, if this is really possible. He excuses himself from the twins and leaves. As the dusk arrives, he is having dinner with Nifia, but he is too silent, barely touching the food. Nifia asks if the food is not to his liking, as she heard that animal meat was humans' favorite food. Suzuki wakes up from his stupor and eats the food, even praising Nifia for her cooking skill. This gives a boost to Nifia's pride as she internally makes a victory sign. She tells him to stay beside him all day tomorrow because the demon inspector Surfiano is coming from the main castle for an inspection. Suzuki does not know about any of this, so Nifia explains that this is just a temporary residence to control the area of Riarun country and the main castle is different. Surfiano comes from the main castle to check the state of subjugated countries. Suzuki is surprised that this is not all of the hell, but Nifia tells him not to be nervous because Surfiano is a great lady and Nifia wants to introduce him. He asks how she is so amazing, so Nifia begins the story that it is about the time when the human country named Kreblin was invaded. The invading forces were overwhelming, but the humans had a powerful necromancer. That human used sorcery on the troops to instill the idea that the humans and the demons are friends, without even making the demons realize that they were under the spell. However, for Surfiano's third eye, it was no match. She looked through it instantly and released the troops on those troops and annihilated both the country and their necromancer. Suzuki is terrified to hear this story because he thinks that his ability is the same as that of the necromancer, so he would also be found out by the inspector lady. At the same time, a carriage is approaching the castle. The person sitting inside orders for the speed to be increased. As the carriage is approaching the castle, she can strongly feel a human letting out quite a strong aggravating energy, and she thinks that pests should be dealt with quickly. She is the demon army advisor Surfiano with a third eye on her forehead. Nifia and Surfiano sit in front of each other as Nifia thanks her for taking the long journey through the night in carriage. Surfiano does not think much of it and compliments Nifia on her report. However, she asks what happened to the plan of exterminating all humans within the castle. Nifia is clearly nervous under the sharp eyes of Surfiano as she tells her that although her squad contains some of the best but many are still green. So she thought of putting humans on non-combative duties since many humans in this country are harmless and she is using that time for training the troops. Surfiano smiles to hear the reply, but she is now sure that the danger she felt on the way here was not a mistake. The Thunder Dash Spear is already under the enemy's spell. It is probably a charm type that is quite powerful as well. It is of the same kind that the Necromancer of Kreblin used before, but she has never felt energy like this before. However, she is the demon army advisor who sees through everything, so as soon as she locates the human responsible for it, there would be extreme agony and death. As she is planning the ways of torturing, Suzuki enters the room with some extra snacks. Surfiano notices him and instantly attacks her own face with the teacup. Both Nifia and Suzuki are shocked and worried such a thing, but Surfiano reassures them that this is just her family's traditional way of drinking. However, on the inside, she is also affected by the super cuteness of Suzuki, and if she did not hurt herself, she would have lost herself in it. Nifia starts healing her wounds while Suzuki also panics and starts looking for something to wipe with. Surfonia is not worried about herself and is now sure that Suzuki is the source of this power, so she needs to eliminate him. However, when he returns teary-eyed and offers his help in wiping her face, she is so affected that she bangs her head on the table and breaks it. Nifia and Suzuki are again worried about her well-being, but she is actually about to give in to the cuteness. She tells Nifia that she is taking Suzuki and heading to the underground arena, so the others including Nifia are prohibited from entering that place. Nifia wants to object, but Surfiano tells her to listen to her. She knows that the more she looks, the more she would be affected by the cuteness, so before she is stopped by Nifia and others, she must quickly do the deed. So they hurriedly rush towards the underground arena. Nifia takes her leave after dropping them there, but she did notice Suzuki being nervous near Surfonia. Even so, for Surfiano to be so upfront about her urges, it is okay to take a liking what is with the underground arena. Maybe she wants to play tag with him, thinks the clueless Nifia. Well, they are playing tag, with Suzuki running away from the attacks and Surfiano chasing after him. However, she tells him to not get any closer or she would burn this whole castle along with him. She does not even give him an opportunity to talk, as she calls him the ability user from another world. There is no way that she can turn a blind eye to this kind of energy. She has already heard that the humans of this country were scheming to summon a hero, but who would have thought such a deadly weapon would appear? Suzuki wants to clear the misunderstanding, but she does not give a chance and accuses him of using his abilities to control the whole castle, but that is going to end today because she is going to eliminate him. However, she falters during her speech and slams her head to the ground to snap out of the said spell. She realizes that the more bloodlust she has, the more she is affected, so she needs to finish this quickly. She starts her attacks with the chains to constrict him, and Suzuki runs for his life, but he turns around to find that she has bound herself with her own chains. Suzuki is shocked to see her like that, but it looks like that was all part of her plan. She plans to restrict her body with the chains that moves against her will. In addition, she closes her eyes so that she cannot see that coherent figure, which diminishes the effect of his abilities on her mind. Finally, she seals her third eye at the center of all this to completely nullify his powers. Suzuki is reminded of some other people who also hide their eyes and experiences deja vu. Surfiano is sure that with all these countermeasures, there is nothing to fear. She asks if he thought she would be powerless, but he is wrong. A true spellcaster does not rely on just one thing, and she would prove that to him. She slams her foot on a magic circle to summon a stone-made golem from the surface of the ground, a puppet without will that only listens to its creator. She orders it to go forth and annihilate the human in front. Suzuki tries to dodge the attacks of the stone giant and realizes that this is the true bloodlust. When he first met Nifia, he thought that he would be speared to death. But now he gets it. From the start, they had no intention of eliminating him at all. The others were like this as well. No one directed their bloodlust at them that is naturally aimed at humans. So he now realizes that it was not his courage that enabled him to take bold actions, because now, in the face of true bloodlust, he cannot even move his body. He is thinking that it is the end for him, but then he remembers his promise to Exela, and he is not satisfied what he has done for this world, as nothing has changed. He shouts that he wants to live, and in the next moment, Surfiano comes between him and the golem's attacking arm. She releases the spell and the golem falls down piece by piece. She was forgetful to not seal her hearing as well, because normally, there is no need to do that. But even Suzuki's cries were so cute that it must be a crime. She falls down saying that, and Suzuki takes her into his arms, telling her to stop talking. And this is how the battle with Surfiano ended, with her own will. Her face in death was quite calm and pure. But wait, she is not dead yet, corrects Nifia. In an interview after the catastrophe, Suzuki is shocked that she is alright after such an attack, but Nifia says that she is a tough and smart lady, she made it through her smarts, and even Nifia has trouble explaining that. That aside, Nifia was told that Surfiano was having fun hanging out with Suzuki, got carried away and made the golem go berserk, and asks if it is all true. Suzuki says that it is true because Surfiano told him to not tell about this incident to a soul if he wants to keep his abilities a secret. However, at that time, Suzuki was more worried about the blood spilling from her mouth and told her to stop talking. So now, Suzuki has no choice but to go along with the lie. Nifia wonders it must be fun to play tag with Suzuki, but does not voice it and just says that if both parties say so, she would not dig any deeper. However, she does have one more question about if it is true that Suzuki wants the demons and the humans to be equal and has been taking actions to accomplish that. Suzuki admits this as he remembers what Surfiano said about it. She admitted her defeat, that she cannot bring herself to hate him, but as an army advisor, she cannot overlook a menace to demons, and asks if Suzuki wants to destroy them. Suzuki strongly negates the idea and tells her that while he is saddened by the fact that a lot of fellow humans were annihilated, but he still wants demons and humans to live as equals peacefully. Surfiano smiles at such a prospect and says that it gives her a peace of mind. Nifia is surprised that she smiles and approves that idea because there is no way that pipe dream would come true. She says that Surfiano's smiles was at the fact that this idea is simply reckless. Nifia herself has turned a blind eye to many humans to fulfill Suzuki's wishes because those were the actions taken with Suzuki in mind. Even before, she was not really interested in humans that were not a threat. The humans have already destroyed millions of demons and were even planning to summon a hero, even though the outcome would have been the same. Suzuki knows that it is true, but he has been confronted by reality the whole time he has been here. The hatred of humans and the bloodlust of demons, both are powerful and relentless, and he cannot see a glimmer of hope, but he still cannot stand to just watch how things are without doing anything. That is why he has decided to do things his way to change this world. Nifia stares at him for quite some time, and Suzuki asks if she wants to convey that the idea itself is impossible and give up. But this is not what Nifia is thinking at all. She thinks that if he wants to do something about this world, then the possibility is not zero entirely. She tells him to quit being a slave and enroll in the Thunder Dash Spear. He is surprised to hear such an offer, but Nifia explains that if he can become a troop, he would be given slaves and a territory. The more standing he has, the more privileges he would get, and how he uses them is up to him. That is to say, it might be possible to build a utopia within his territory, but the enemies of Thunder Dash Spear are humans just like him, so Nifia asks if he would take this hand even knowing that. Suzuki observes the hand extended towards him. He does not know if his choice is right or not, but he knows that Nifia does not harbor any hatred or bloodlust towards him, so he takes the hand to join the Thunder Dash Spear. From this moment onwards, the environment that surrounds Suzuki begins to change greatly. The true value of his ability will be demonstrated anew in the divide of humans and demons. Suzuki stands in front of the crowd as he announces that he will be enlisting in the Thunder Dash Spear and introduces himself. Nifia concludes an announcement and asks if there are any objections. The troops are skeptical about a human joining, but they do give a huge welcome to Suzuki. Suzuki is glad that he is making good use of his abilities, just like Ixella said, but there comes a voice of objection from a lizard-like demon who does not want an eyesore of a human to join the troops. Suzuki feels something from the guy that he never felt from any of the demon. It is like what he felt when he was attacked by the golem, the pure bloodlust. Nifia overrules the objection as everyone else has already accepted, and this is her decision as a captain. The demon clicks his tongue and vanishes from the scene, so Nifia orders leaves Suzuki's training to the bronzes while the others are to carry out their duties as usual. Some of the demons call out to Suzuki and greets him excitedly. Suzuki returns the greeting, but he looks a bit off, so the demons tell him to cheer up and ask if the lizard-like demon, Gargar, gave him the creeps. They tell him to not worry as he has a few screws loose and he only thinks about eating humans. Just the other day, he got hungry and ate the other's slave out of blue. Suzuki is terrified to hear that and worries that his ability may not work against such a dangerous fellow. Suzuki starts wobbling as he frets over it, but the fellow demons tells him to just train with him and it would be okay since Gargar is a silver. Suzuki does not understand what they meant, so the demons explain the hierarchy of the troops. There are bronze, iron, diamond, silver, and then comes those above the clouds like Nifia and the twins. Suzuki makes a mental note to not get closer to Gargar as he is a silver and fairly strong. He asks if he lies in the bronze level, but the demons say that he is just a pebble because he has just enlisted, but if he works hard enough, he would be able to become a bronze right away. Another demon realizes that they should also try to get promoted because they are at the bottom of hierarchy. Suzuki asks how can they climb up the ranks, so the demon explains that it can be achieved through battle, but the quickest way is the troop duel in which you fight and beat some higher ups to get swapped with their level. Suzuki is excited to hear that, but the demons remind him that the first step is the training. And so, the intense training begins. Suzuki's ability is to be only loved by the demons, but there are also exceptions like Gargar, which is no good. To save Exela and the others, he needs more of the actual strength. He was called the trash by the king, and now he is a pebble, so if he moves slow and steady, he will get stronger for sure. After all, for an ice guy, that is the expectation. For his ice guy lifestyle, it is the time for the raising of the ice guy lifestyle. Just after a few hours, he is able to defeat a demon in a fight. He is skeptical if he really did it or they let him win on purpose. It was all the same for the first, the second, and now the third time. They all fell before he even hit them. The demons say that it must be his imagination, but Suzuki is very angry until someone pats him on the head. He turns back to find a fluffy thing towering over him. Suzuki looks at him and wonders if this demon would be his opponent. He hears others call him Griojo, and he is just back from the guard duty. Suzuki is told that Griojo is not much of a talker, so they do not know anything other than their name. They got here a bit before Suzuki, and with their talent, they rose to the bronze level on the very same day. Suzuki wonders if they would put an actual fight and requests them to spear with him. The fluffy ball nods, so Suzuki jumps into them as he says thanks them. As he hugs them, Suzuki finds them huge but fluffy and leisurely. Suzuki steps back as he thinks of making up for his weak strength with his ability. He takes the sword and starts the fight, but in the next moment, he is punched right at the stomach and falls down due to the impact. Griojo then gets on top of him and starts smacking Suzuki. The other demons wants to stop him, but the rules state that a party at least needs 30 points before it can be over. They also notice that other than Gargar, Griojo is also someone who would let Suzuki have it. The time is finally up, and when Griojo stops, Suzuki is already beaten up. The other demons go to ask about his well-being, but Suzuki says that he is fine. However, on the inside, he is not fine at all at the fact that he is so weak, and he has tried even harder to get stronger. 1 month later, Nifia looks at the ground from her window and finds that Suzuki is solo training today as well. His working hard form is also so cute, so she wants to reward him and go there. She gets the idea that it has been exactly 1 month since the enlistment, so this might be the perfect excuse. With this idea, she decides to come with the perfect present to make Suzuki go over the moon. In the evening, Suzuki arrives and asks what Nifia needed from him, but to his surprise, Exela is also present with Nifia. Nifia tells him that he has been working hard and is being praised by other soldiers, so she thought it would be fine to give him a slave, and that is why she brought Exela and Ornio. Suzuki is so happy that he enthusiastically thanks her, making her internally happy, but on the outside, she tells him to strive harder. Exela and Suzuki formally greet each other, but Suzuki notices that something is wrong with her feet and asks about it. Nifia proudly tells him that she severed her tendons so that she does not try to run away like most slaves do so. At first, Suzuki is shocked, but then he shouts at Nifia. She also shouts at him in return, but Suzuki's anger does not quell as he says that Exela might never be able to run again. Nifia thinks that they are in front of a slave right now, so she cannot be shy doing this. She takes a deep breath to calm herself and tells Suzuki to not get conceited as just a lowly pebble. She says that she merely granted him a single human out of respect of his work ethics, and it was not at all a praise for his military strength. She asks if he can live and fight by himself, so if he wants to get all high and mighty, he needs to show her the strength befitting of it first. Suzuki becomes so angry that he dashes out of the room. Exela calls out to him, but Nifia tells her to leave him be. Exela looks at Nifia and finds that she is also not in a good mood thinking about Suzuki. She reassures her that Suzuki would come back soon, but Nifia tells her to shut up. Suzuki returns to the training grounds, and the demons ask if his business with Nifia is done. However, Suzuki does not answer them and asks of them for a troop duel instead. He requests politely, and the demons have no choice but to accept it. As expected, he is beaten up after the duel. The other demons chastise the one who is responsible for this condition, but the demon defends itself by saying that he cannot hold back in a troop duel since his livelihood depends on it. Suzuki finally realizes that everyone is fond of him and take care of him. He is cherished like the mascots in his previous life, but when things get serious, this happens. He is determined to obtain strength, and Ryojo watches him from a distance, hidden from everyone. The fellow demons tell Suzuki to stop for the day since it is after the duel and night time, but Suzuki keeps swinging his sword.